Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2285. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in beautiful Aurora, Colorado. A little chilly this morning here, with a very special guest by the name of Mike Pedrick. Mike, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
I am ready.
All right, we'll have some fun. Now, before I give you an introduction and we dive into your world, what's one little thing that maybe people don't know about you, Mike?
You know, I think a lot of folks who are close to me know this, but maybe not so many, not in the aggregate. But I spent the first part of high school as a teenager in England. I was an Air Force dependent.
Oh, wow.
And totally wasted the opportunity to do the tourism thing, but it ranks really high among my best memories.
You know, my wife, her father was in the military, and they were down in South America when she was in high school, and she just loved it. She said that was some of the coolest, most fun times. And maybe it was because she was in an American school surrounded by kids from other military families that were from around the world. And they were all kind of in the same boat, in a strange place, new, so they became friends and helped each other. Is that what you discovered?
Oh, absolutely. I think you hit the nail squarely on the head. It was a lot of, DOD's, Department of Defense Dependent Schools kids that, one of my closer friends was, he had only ever spent time in England. He was American as I was, certainly, but he spoke with a British accent and was just phenomenally good at soccer. I hated going out on the field with him during gym class. It was embarrassing as heck. But yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. That was absolutely the best part, was shedding the trappings of going through American schools. Very wildly different experience. We were all thrust together from varying backgrounds, and it empowered our friendship rather than getting in the way of it.
Yeah, and she came back for her senior year to Southern California in high school, and it was just a real challenge because of all the cliques and the nature of schools. And I guess maybe they're the same way still. And also coming from South America where everything wasn't caught up yet. So when she came back, clothes weren't in style. She hadn't even seen a lot of the TV shows that everybody were and music. And she was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I'm not there. And so it wasn't nearly as fun, but she always talks very fondly about her time there. So very cool. I think it rounds people out to visit other parts of the world. It's an important thing. We sent our kids off when they were in high school to overseas times, I guess, if you will. My son spent time in Poland and Africa, South Africa, my daughter in Europe, and it was really good. They came back, I won't say different people, but they came back with an entirely different perspective on things that they would have never had. I think that's positive. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's talk about you, Mike. Mike Pedrick, cybersecurity, privacy, and risk management executive consultant by trade, and has been an automotive enthusiast since he purchased his first car, as well as the first one that moved under its own power. Unable to leave anything alone, Mike has chased down big power in what he might call unpopular platforms, cue in the 2004-2005 GTO, and has been a reoccurring participant in annual charity rally events as part of the Rally North America community. Rally North America has made a tremendous impact for multiple charities, hundreds of participants, and is the source of great memories for Mike and his late son, Caleb. We'll be back in just a moment to learn more about what Mike's up to, but first a word from our sponsors, so give them a little love, and we'll be right back. Buckle up. Are you wondering what your collector car is worth these days? Are you thinking about buying a collector car? I know who can help. My friends at Classic.com will help you stay on top of the market so you know which similar vehicles are out there, what they're selling for, what you should pay, and how to price your vehicle. Go to Classic.com/garage, enter your vehicle's information, specs including the year, make, model, mileage, and options, and they will provide you with a list of recent comparable sales. Their powerful search engine is up to date, finding new listings, tracking sales, and keeping you informed, providing data so you can make the right decision. If you're selling a vehicle, they can help as well with their Classic.com Pro Division, steering you to a qualified professional who will help. Finding the right vehicle and selling your vehicle is all about timing and exposure. So what are you waiting for? Go to classic.com/garage and give it a run. That's classic.com/garage and tell them Mark sent you. Years ago, when it was time to renew my collector car insurance policy, my carrier's rates went up. Way up, but my usage was the same and I never made a claim. I didn't even have a ticket. So what's with that? So I turned to American Collectors Insurance. Has your collector car insurance recently raised your rates for no good reason? Tired of paying an annual membership fee? Then it's time to look around and call American Collectors Insurance. I shopped around, I asked friends for recommendations, and found a winner that I can trust. And boy, I'm glad I did. I saved hundreds of dollars every year and slept better at night knowing my baby was properly insured. American Collectors Insurance have been protecting vehicles since 1976. They provided me with an agreed value insurance policy backed by their history of taking great care of their clients. What could be better than that? So give them a call and ask for a quote today. 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. And protect the ones you love like I did with American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. For several years now, you've heard me talk about Linkage Magazine. I've been a subscriber since the start. Their talented and creative team brings you a spectacular publication and website that shares the automotive passion from a worldwide perspective. Linkage is about driving, restoring, collecting, and first-hand experience at collector car auctions and more. They bring you real-world values plus rational, experienced opinions on the current markets. They cover the automotive world and the people who share our passions. And Linkage Magazine has grown, mailing you 6 issues annually. Join me on this journey with Linkage. They're geared for the automotive life. You can subscribe at linkagemag.com. So, Mike, now since this is Cars Yeah, we probably won't dwell too much on your career path. However, cybersecurity, privacy, risk management, yeah, I think there's plenty of work for people like you with all of us online and everything. So the first question I have for you is, who are all these Asian ladies trying to be my friend on Facebook that I know are not the people in the pictures? What is going on? Now I'm getting them on my phone.
You know, it's funny. Scamming, or attempting to scam folks is by no means new, right? It's a tale as old as time. But as we've sort of broken down the barriers between countries, nations, parts of the globe, different stratas of society via technology, everybody's accessible. And of course, if we're accessible by family, friends, etc., we're certainly also accessible by scammers. I have no end of things to say about that subject matter, but you're probably right. We're focused on cars.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the way we all operate on these devices these days, I think, and that's why I want to ask you, if you could offer our listeners today in that world of protecting yourself, what's maybe 1 or 2 things you would highly recommend people listening today before we get into cars could go, wow, I'm glad that Mike shared that with us?
Sure, absolutely. I would say the first thing, of course, is to recognize that a lot of what you see, a lot of what we, privacy folks, security and privacy folks will rail on about is that, you follow the money, so to speak. There's a lot of focus on delivering advertising, ostensibly targeted advertising. Targeted advertising comes with a cost. They have to gather personal information from you, about your family, friends, your actions, your movements through the world in order to accomplish that. And so you have to do your own risk calculus. Like, do I want to give away this information or do I not? And understand that convenience comes with a cost. And then the other thing I would say is always be suspicious. You receive that email, you receive a call, your phone pops up with a number you don't recognize. Be a little bit suspicious. Be on your toes. Somebody starts asking questions around, what was your mother's maiden name, or can you give me access to your PC? Your default answer should be no.
Goodbye.
Not until I know exactly who you are and what your intentions are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad that we have to be that way, but really do. And I become more and more. I think I just don't even answer calls on my phone if they don't they're not in my contacts. And if they leave a message, then I know who they are, but most of them don't, and who knows who they are. So yeah, it's a crazy world for sure. Well, let's get into the car world because you're an automotive enthusiast. That's how we connected. I believe you had heard my talk with one of my past guests and reached out to me and said, hey, this sounds like fun. And I know you're involved in rallying and so forth. So how did you, or where did your car passion start?
The very beginning probably was right after I'd gotten back from England. You know, I'm 17 years old, so I'm behind the eight ball. I don't have a driver's license. And, you know, for better or for worse, my mother told me, you know, if you want to learn how to drive, you'd better buy a car because you're not going to learn how to drive on mine. And even at 17 years old, I felt like, you know, that's a little paradoxical, right? I mean, even just straight up logistics, how am I supposed to bring this thing home if I don't have a license and don't know how to drive it?
Right.
I bought a 1976 Pontiac Le Mans from a gentleman across the road with the caveat that it didn't run. And I knew nothing about mechanics up to that point. I won't say I wasn't mechanically inclined. I certainly had the neural pathways to think in those terms, but no experience with it, no wrenching, you know, as a child. And so
you're a brave kid to buy a car that wasn't running. Yeah, bravo.
I was a pragmatist, right? I was like, well, it's here, you know, a little bit of work, I'll be able to get it running and, you know, learn how to drive. And the sad story, though, is, you know, washing dishes. It's a part-time job, washing dishes and pulling together my meager paychecks. I did all kinds of things. If somebody said, hey, try this, I went and bought the parts and did the work, and it didn't work. And so, I don't know, I spent 6 or 9 months trying to get that car running before somebody threw me a bone and gave me a loan to buy a car that did move under its own power.
There you go.
You know, that was really helpful at the time.
Yeah, I understand. My first car was nothing special, but I was lucky because a neighbor was a general manager at a Chevy dealership and got a trade-in from literally a little old lady. It was a 67 Chevy Nova and didn't look like anything. It was in good shape, but it just was, you know, I wanted a sports car, man. Oh, that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, but it ran. He put new tires on it, a battery, and it was a great first car for that first year and sold it for 3 times what I paid for it. So that was a cool deal. Yeah, you do whatever you can do. And when you're that age and you don't have a lot of money, you kind of just do what you can do. But I would imagine that experience kind of lit the torch. Is that what it did?
It did. I mean, it made me comfortable with turning wrenches and realizing the benefits of, you know, I did a thing. I fixed a thing. Even though, again, ultimately the car didn't move under its own power, I felt like I had built up a sense of accomplishment. And that followed through into, you know, subsequent vehicles where, you know, maybe I can improve on this. Maybe I can make this more mine. Maybe I can, improve upon. I say that seems intellectually dishonest because I've broken some cars as well. But at any rate, you know, that sense of I did a thing was really addicting, I think, following that experience.
Yeah, I think. Now, did your high school, you were 17 till you were about out of high school. I was going to say, was there not auto shop or something? Because in my high school days, now this was back in the 70s, we did have auto shop and plenty of kids brought cars in that weren't running. And by the time they finished, they now had a running car. You know, some old cars that you looked at and went, wow, I'm surprised that thing's still on the road, but they made them run. So in this process, you got into cars, you started learning about cars and so forth. And I want to fast forward a little bit to a little bit later life. One of the things you noted to me was participating in rallies. And I've had guests on the show that aren't working in the automotive world, but they do a lot in the automotive world. So is that one of the most favorite activities you have when it comes to wrapping your life around cars?
Yes, although... and I want to put this out there that there's a lot of folks that I'll talk to that aren't initiated into the same world, and respecting the fact that there's multiple ways that you can rally. Rally means a different thing, slightly different thing to multiple people. The rally experience was a friend of a friend reached out to me and said, you know, we've got this rally coming up. It'd be fantastic if you could participate. We take off from Pueblo, Colorado. It's not far from you. We're going to end up in Las Vegas. It'll be a blast. You should try it. And I thought, sure, why not, right? Let's just go see what this is like, you know? And I suppose I should back up and explain the way our Rally North America events are structured. It's a scavenger hunt through oftentimes rural America, where you know where your hotels are, you know where you're sleeping at the end of the night, but you know nothing about the checkpoints that you have to find during the day until you get to the starting line and one of the organizers hands you a clue card. And it's a pamphlet with pictures and brief descriptions You have to figure out what it is, where it is, and how to get there in the shortest time and or distance traveled possible if you want to be competitive.
So this is a time distance rally. So you've got to move certain, is that how strict it is?
So it started out that way. It used to be, first, second, third place were, first person into the hotel at the end of the night, second and third, et cetera. And I think that the organizers started to recognize that really led to people wanting to make bad decisions, such as, speeding and,
yeah.
Right, exactly. And that was one of the other things that was made clear to me very early on in this process was if you get a ticket, you're disqualified for that day. We're ambassadors of the group. We're ambassadors of the charities that we represent. Don't be an idiot, right? Just don't do it. It's not worth it. And so, trying to reconcile those two things. Okay, I got to get there first, but I can't speed. What are you expecting of me? It becomes a game of navigation, right? More than anything else. And so, people come armed with like the old school Rand McNally atlases in hand, just in case they don't have the cell coverage to leverage technology in that way. And so It sounded like great fun. And I thought, this will be fantastic. And I reached out to a friend of mine who was a pilot, a small-time amateur pilot here in Colorado, has been all over the state as part of that process. But is originally from Henderson, Nevada. So he was keenly aware of the Las Vegas area too. So I thought, man, I got a ringer, right? I got the best navigator available for this thing.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to win. And the first night, the first hotel I got into, I checked in. We had, gone through a drive-through for lunch. We had run to each checkpoint to take a picture and then run back to the car. And I still arrived 13th place. And I thought, there's no way. Like, there's no way, I was this bad at this, And somebody told me, listen, the rule is don't get a ticket. The rule is not don't speed. The rule is don't get a ticket. Okay, wink, wink. Yeah. Anyway, that's how I got started. But over time, over the years that I've been doing it, I'm not competitive anymore. There's times I'll come into the hotel at the end of the day, 3-4 hours after somebody else. But I'm taking the time to absorb parts of the country that I didn't even know existed. Certainly would not have thought to put on my vacation schedule. So I'm enjoying the experience. Tony, one of the organizers for Rally North America, one of the founders, he says it's fun for him because it's like we're all letting him plan our vacations, which is probably true, right? So Just a phenomenal experience.
Absolutely. I found myself in Germany. I was over in Europe on business and got invited to the Porsche factory and found out they were having a what they called a time distance photo rally. And I just mentioned to somebody, wow, that sounds like fun. He goes, well, there's a guy who's part of the group that needs a co-pilot, a navigator. You want to do this? And it ended up, he's an expat. He's a general. He had just picked up a brand new Porsche Turbo. And so we all met at the Porsche factory and took off, and we had this book, and you had to go a certain mile at this pace and turn here. And then you had to find these landmarks and go up, like, when was this statue built? Or who is on the statue? And you'd have to walk into the town and find the statue. And it was kind of a fun thing to do, but we completely got lost. The whole concept of it, I was not where I thought it was. But one of the funnier things was when I got in the car, we started driving. We got on the Autobahn to kind of get to this first exit. And he was driving pretty fast. And I said, so you just got this? He goes, yeah, I had one before, but I crashed it, wadded it into a ball. And I'm like, who did I just get in the car with? Oh my gosh. Right. And then he looked at me, the worried look on my face, and he said, no, it wasn't my fault. He said, I was on the Autobahn, going fast, and a fox ran across the road, and I hit a fox. And he said, don't hit a fox when you're doing 120 because it really disrupts the airflow under your car. Sadly, lost it. But it was a fun experience, but I had never done that kind of thing. True time distance rallying is very, very technical. And in that case, we ended up in last place. My son and I tried it here in the U.S. once in a car. We ended up in last place because these guys had timers and clocks on their dashes and all. I mean, the technical part of this whole thing is very challenging, but we had fun. And I think that's what you're saying is getting out there, seeing the country, driving and being with a group makes it kind of fun if you like that kind of thing, to be organized and know where you're going to sleep that night. So it sounds like you're having fun with it. When you think about driving, what I call are driving inspirations, or people that are influential in your life or in the car world, is there somebody like that for you?
In the car world specifically?
Yeah.
I've had a lot of friends over the years that have shared similar passions, right? So when the Pontiac GTO, the 2004 to 2006 GTO was coming over, from the moment I saw the first article and read in Motor Trend or Road and Track or whatever it was that Bob Lutz was bringing over the Holden Monaro as the Pontiac GTO, Corvette with a back seat, I knew I wanted one. I had to have one. And when I bought my first one in 2004, the 2004, people came out of the woodwork, like, oh, this is fantastic. I want one too. And I'm very honored and very happy to count many of those folks that I met through the GTO, through that community. They're still really good friends with me now. They're still close friends. None of us have GTOs anymore. We've all moved on. Most of us have moved on. We're still super strong friends. And so I've learned a lot about the hobby, the passion, and how to be a good person, I think, from the various personality types that I've met in the community. Before GTOs, long before, I had a DSM. I was part of a DSM club, Diamond Star Motors, which was the Mitsubishi Eclipse, Eagle Talon, and Plymouth Laser in the 90s. And the local community was made up of, I remember thinking they were so stodgy and so old and so out of touch, but I'm older now than they were then.
Yeah, that happens.
And they're pretty quick, yeah. But their whole mantra was, go fast with class. Don't drive like a jerk. Don't be reckless out on the street. You can have fun. You can go fast. You can have a great time, and you don't have to be an idiot about it. And that, even as somebody in his early 20s, that really stuck with me.
Yeah, I think it's important in these car clubs. I when I moved up here years and years ago, almost 30 years ago, I joined a club. And I won't mention the marque because they've changed a lot since then, but most people know my favorite marque. Mm-hmm. And the first time we went on one of their driving tours, I mean, they took off like I couldn't believe. And I was with my son. He was quite young. And I'm thinking, okay, these guys are nuts. I mean, they're driving way over the speed limit. They're doing silly things. I've got my son. I turned around and went home. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. There's plenty of time to go out. And I was racing at the time. There's plenty of time to go fast on a track or go do driver's days and things like that. But yeah, they can spoil it. But it's nice when you get groups that understand that and don't play those games, especially these days with so many people so inattentive because of their phones. I want to talk a little bit about challenges. We talk about this because it's more about how you got through whatever the challenge was, how it taught you some valuable lessons. Is there something like that in your life you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2014, going back to the GTOs, well, and the notion of not being able to leave anything alone. I had a 2005 GTO with the LS2, and I had a big supercharger on it, and I put pistons and rods in the engine to turn up the wick, and it just made a silly amount of power given the platform, right? Mm-hmm. We could never go bigger than 275 tires on the rear, so it was like driving around on pizza cutters with...
That's an interesting way to say it. I like it.
Yeah, but I had tuned it up to the point and modified it to the point where it would made more than 700 at the tires, more than 700 horsepower at the tires.
Whoa.
So you knew every time you hit the gas pedal, it wanted to kill you,
Yeah.
And, regardless of where you were going, the rear end was going to get there first. So you just wanted to make sure the rest of the car was in front of the rear end, Mm-hmm. Anyway, I say all that to say, in 2014, my son wanted to be my navigator, and he was 13 at the time. And I said, well, this sounds great. The rally this year, it's always a different route. The rally this year starts in Virginia. Let's jump in the GTO and go to Virginia. And I thought about it, but I decided, you know what, we're going to roll the dice. I'm not going to detune it. I'm not going to, prepare it for lower altitude. Let's just go. And I'll let my conscience be my guide or whatever. And we got to Virginia, and the car self-destructed.
Oh no!
In Virginia, yeah, I had differential issues. I had blown a head gasket. It was just the car was really unhappy about getting 20% more oxygen relative where I was driving it around. Which the metallurgy is what it is. These things happen. But now I'm on the other side of the country, and my son, again, he's 13 years old. This is his first major experience with a rally event. He's watching his father melt down, over this misfortune. But on the way back, as being a big part of, again, the GTO community since its inception in 2004, folks that I had never met in person but had interacted with online, coordinated. Somebody in Ohio rented a U-Haul trailer, met me up in, eastern Ohio, picked me up and, caravanned me to the next person who would meet me and get me as far as Iowa, the next person from there, so on and so forth. And so it was this relay race of my car on a U-Haul trailer behind various pickup trucks, and my son and I in the truck, hey, great to meet you. Really can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing this, so on and so forth. We actually were able, this happened Monday. The rally starts on Monday. We missed the opening starting grid because the car was broken, but we did what we had to do. We actually got to cross the finish line in Pueblo, Colorado, Pueblo again, at the track in Pueblo. We got to cross the finish line with the car on the trailers, not first place.
Yeah.
We hit none of the checkpoints, and we showed up with mud all over the front of the car because of what had blown up on over the track. But my takeaway was, and we won the hard luck award.
Of course.
As part of,
I would hope
if
so.
we hadn't made it, we wouldn't have gotten any award at all, but we got the hard luck. But I was very proud. I was proud of the community and proud to be a part of the community. And I felt like, I explained this to my son, like, these are people that care about each other based on, common, what we like, what we have in common, what we like, our enthusiast, what we're enthusiastic about, et cetera. And these are just really, really good people. These are really solid folks. And none of the the pressures of the work world or, socio-political, whatever, none of that matters. As soon as you're in this group, as soon as you're in that particular community, all of that melts away, and they're just solid people taking care of each other. And I had the sense at that time that he picked up on that.
Yeah. Well, that's the car community. That's what it is. I see it all the time in social media. Somebody, hey, I'm broken down here. And, before you know it, oh, I'm coming to get you, or here, call this guy or whatever. That's just the way it is. I've had that happen to me many times on tours and rallies. And my son, when he was about 10, we were in a little Beck Spider, which is a little 550 Spider car and Porsche Spider. It's a replica built by Chuck Beck. Happy birthday, Chuck. He just had his 86th birthday. And he's been a guest here on the show. And we were at the back of a large group of 356 Porsches, and we ran out of gas. And they took off. We kind of pulled over, and my son, this had happened once before in that car. So he goes, oh, did it again, Dad. Thank you, son. And but somebody was driving by, and he turned around and came back. Guy in a BMW pulled up, and he goes, hey, what's going on? And I said, well, and he goes, well, I just coming back from the gas station. I'm going to mow some grass. I've got 5 gallons of gas. I'll pour it in your car. And he didn't, he wouldn't take any money. And was just like, what a nice guy, that's what the car world's all about. That it's a wonderful thing. So a nice experience, I think, for your son too, to see how do you deal with something that is completely unplanned, very inconvenient. Well, this is how you get through it. Mm-hmm. Reach out, ask for help. And that's a big part of it. I always ask about special vehicle stories. You've told us about a few. Is that GTO your special vehicle, or is there another one you want to share that maybe ended up a little happier?
Well, I think the GTO probably is.
Yeah.
Again, it brought me in touch, one or the other of them, my 04 or my 05, again, just because of the community and the folks, the friendships I was able to make through that particular community. I miss it, frankly. I think it was probably time to move on when I finally sold off the car and 10 years worth of parts and whatever else. But, and I've spoken to the person who got it after I did, and he reached out to me and said, do you want to, purchase it back? And I said no, because it's a hard thing to pin down, but once somebody else has had it, it's not yours anymore. Right. You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
And it's not, if I could have it back, push the button or jump in the DeLorean and go back to the day that I sold it so I could slap myself in the face, yeah, I would take it back in that day, but not a couple of years later.
I understand completely. So I'm going to crawl in your head and be a car psychologist today. If you were reincarnated, manifest as a vehicle, what would you be and why?
I was thinking about this. I was joking around with my wife this morning. I said, it's probably going to end up being something that's not very fast, but relatively reliable. Maybe I'm a Corolla. And she scoffed at that. She's like, no, that's too far. You can't, that's not going to work. And she said, you could at least be a Camry. And I laughed at that because I thought, I don't know how that's better other than it's larger. And thank you for pointing out that I can
thanks,
afford
dear.
to lose a couple of pounds.
Yeah, well, we all can.
Well, I think a sedan probably makes sense. Something relatively reliable. And I was thinking to myself, I want to give myself a little bit of credit. Maybe like an E39 M5 would make more sense.
Ooh, okay.
And I think that's probably, I'm not a sports car. I'm not the prettiest thing on the block. I have a lot of respect for that E39 M5 and, theoretically what it does for the landscape.
They're just incredible. I like cars a little smaller. I've had 4 M3s. I have one now. But the M5, I've had friends with them and I've driven them. And every time I've gotten in one of those, I just go, whoa. They are monsters. They're beasts. And they're so under the radar unless you know what you're looking at. Even, if you think about the Porsche SUV or the BMW SUV, the X5M or the GTS Cayenne or even the Macan. I mean, they're just, you wouldn't know what you're looking at until you get in one and drive one. So there you go. I think you deserve that. Yeah, I like that. Nicely done. Yeah, much better than Camry, much less a Corolla, for sure. Yeah. Now, I know that a lot of car clubs are real into giving back and helping others. Is there a way that you like to do that? Is it through the automotive world or something else?
Well, it's definitely through RNA, Rally North America. Our place in the starting grid is dictated by how much money we raise for the charity that year. And so some of us have a tendency to get competitive. If we're not competitive in terms of I want to get into the hotel first, second, or third, I want to be at the front of the pack when we take off. So I'm going to raise money, raise a lot of money for the charity. And I'm in that second category. I really enjoy raising money for the charity. And, top 5 is good enough for me. The front row, I don't have to be first, don't have to be third. I just want to be in that front row or close to that front row. And I want to do it by way of raising money for the charity. And so nice. I usually come in, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per year for the charity. It's hard, when the donations come in $25 at a time. And I'm not too ashamed to admit that a lot of times it's coming out of my own pocket, right? Like, hey, I'm currently in 7th place. I can buy 6th place with another $100 donation today.
When it comes to charities, nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. It's for a good cause.
Very cool. Nice that Rally North America does that. How about great reading? Is there a book you'd like to share?
I don't get a lot of chances to read fiction anymore. That's not true. I don't make a lot of time to read fiction anymore.
There you go. There's an honest answer.
Right. I'm always a fan of, if I'm reading something, whether it's a book, whether it's an article online, whatever the case may be, if I can connect with the author's thought processes, their worldview, their perspectives, if I can make that connection, I'm in. If I can't, or I think there's any opportunity for them to be disingenuous or that they're just, and this applies a lot for journalists, like they're writing a thing because they're on the job, right? This is what they do. I don't connect with that as well. And I think that goes back to when I was a kid, probably right up until about 91 or 92, I was a very avid reader of Stephen King's works. I think I'd read every word he'd ever put to paper as a preteen, early teen, etc. Judge me accordingly. And so when I'd read so much of that content, I genuinely felt like I knew the author. Never mind the characters. Characters are a separate thing. But I genuinely felt like I was in his head.
Well, let's go on the ultimate drive. I enable my guests to go on what I call the ultimate drive. So I'm going to park any car in the world in your driveway. You can take it anywhere, any rally you'd like to go on, and you can take anybody with you. And this could be somebody from the past to somebody that's no longer with us. So that opens up a broad opportunity. So what does the ultimate drive look like for you?
In thinking about the car, I want a convertible.
Okay.
It has to have long legs.
Okay.
And I don't need it to be fast. I don't need it to be anything, it could be an Aston Martin. It could be a Cadillac. It could be, whatever, right? As long as it's open top, open air, and, we'll just set it on cruise and go from there. And I'm thinking, wide open spaces, not a lot of stoplights, maybe this is full on Hunter S. Thompson sort of, we're in the desert and, I don't, whatever. That's the vision I have, PCH or through Nevada. But I would be driving and I would love to have my son, Caleb, next to me. Not just because I would love to have my son, back, but I want him next to me. We don't have to talk necessarily, although I'd have a myriad of questions, but just relax. Everything else fades away. Everything else melts off, and I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about, the destination. It's just, we're just driving. That's that.
Wish I could make that happen for you. That's the great thing about road trips, and the great thing about this country is there are plenty of places to just get out there and go. And to have somebody with you in the car, especially your late son, would be incredibly spectacular, of course. But maybe there's a way to think that he's always kind of with you anyway. Do you feel that way at all?
For sure.
Yeah, that he's there. And you said
you don't
have to
right
talk, Yeah, always kind of by your side. So, and it's nice that it sounds like you got to spend some time with him doing road trips anyway. Is that true?
Yeah, even we got to spend a lot of time around cars, and it was almost in his blood. Before he could finish saying, mom and dad, we were walking through parking lots, and he would point to a car and say, "What's this?" And I'd tell him. And I only ever had to tell him one time. And there was Mitsubishi and Subaru and VW and yeah. And he could identify cars, by styling cues. He was barely walking,
Fun.
And so he was a strong enthusiast.
Nice. Well, my sincere condolences for that loss. And yeah, I have a feeling he is at your side at all times. So can rest thinking at least about that. But I sure wish I could make that happen for you. That would be something else. So you've taken us on a fun ride today. You're having fun with cars. I love the fact you're getting out there with Rally North America and experiencing drives. I mean, this is a great way for if any of your listeners have never done something like this. And you can even do your own little personal rally if you want, take your spouse or partner or a friend or whatever, car guy, car buddy, and get out there and drive. How can people learn more about being a part of Rally North America?
Absolutely. Go to rallynorthamerica.com. Check out the website. There's a lot of media there from past rallies. We've had some really great guests on our rallies, like David Patterson. He's that dude in blue on YouTube. Matt Farah, the famous Matt Farah from Smoking Tire, has gone on our events. Everybody is welcome. You don't have to show up with a Ferrari. We've had people fly into the area, rent a car, put stickers on it, do the event, and then of course make sure the stickers get taken off before they return the car.
Yeah. Why are there racing stickers on
Everybody
this car?
Everybody is welcome.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Exactly.
For sure. Check it out. So before I let you go today, could you share maybe some parting words of wisdom or success quote or a mantra with us?
Sure. I try to live my life this way. The one thing that you'll never get back is time. So do the thing, take the chances, take that vacation, start a business, do whatever it is you're going to do. Just try it. It'll work or it won't. Those are the two possible outcomes.
Get out there and have some fun for sure. Now that the terrible lockdowns of the COVID times are gone, even more important to get out there and spend time with family and friends and do some fun things. So get out there. Spring's here, so get out there and have some fun. Are there ways that people can follow you? Do you have a website around your business?
I don't have a website specifically, but I am on Facebook, and I'm always open to interfacing with folks. I'm also fairly prolific on LinkedIn, the other side of the coin, the professional side of the coin. I do a lot of talks and presentations around risk management and privacy and cybersecurity. The company that I work for, Newspire, that's NUSPIRE. We're predominantly providing security-related services in the automotive and manufacturing space, which is a great place to be aligned with, given my proclivities. Yeah, it should be fairly easy to find in those locations.
Very cool. I'll put links to those on Mike's show notes page. Mike, thanks for being so generous today with your time and your expertise and sharing your car world with the listeners. Until you and I talk again, hopefully on a rally, I'll see you somewhere down the road.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
TechForce is a charity of choice here at Cars Yeah. Auto techs are in high demand, but the supply, it's critically short. For every one tech who graduates school, there's 5 jobs waiting for him. Said another way, 4 technician jobs go unfilled for every technician graduate. Lots of young people love cars, but don't know how to turn that passion into their careers. TechForce Foundation shows them through career exploration, technical education, and the workforce development solutions. Join Cars Yeah in supporting TechForce Foundation and its mission to solve the technician shortage by donating at techforce.org today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah!